But I have a lot of clarity of thought and I'm confident in front of camera. So you guys think that my English is good.
Yeah, and even in that, like, there was words that he missed in a proper English sentence. But even if you, like, here in America, half the people say they speak English, but they don't. I mean, you can go to Louisiana. Everybody sound like they from the swamp, from the bayou. Imagine talking to somebody who talk like this. That's English. Now, one thing I've been told to react to is BeerBiceps. And one of the first videos that he has is 5 ways to speak English fluently and confidently. Well, I can speak kind of English and I can speak kind of Spanish. So let's see if he can't help me speak my English a little bit better.
How do you speak English fluently? How do you speak English with confidence? How do you improve your communication skills?
With practice.
This is the single most requested video on the channel, and Ranveer's got 5 simple steps to
He speaks English very well. I will give him that.
improve your spoken English. So let's go. To be honest, I'm pretty poor at languages, but English has always been my thinking language. My own vocabulary, the number of words I know in English isn't that much. But I have a lot of clarity of thought and I'm confident in front of camera. So you guys think that my English is good.
Yeah, and even in that, like, there was words that he missed in a proper English sentence. But even if you, like, here in America, half the people say they speak English, but they don't. I mean, you can go to Louisiana. Everybody sound like they from the swamp, from the bayou. Imagine talking to somebody who talk like this. That's English. I don't understand a word they be saying sometimes. But in reality, I shouldn't say you don't understand the words. You do understand what they're saying because you're picking up what they're putting down, right? Like, if you have a sentence with 10 words, if you can get 6 of the right words in there, well, you're good.
But also keep in mind that language is a big
She's still in the
weakness of
hospital?
mine. So for me to start my own Hindi channel was very difficult. But I used a few simple tricks to improve on my spoken Hindi, and I believe that those same tricks
Whoa. You know what really helped him? Hitting the gym and putting contacts in with a nice haircut. He looks, not saying that he looks bad here,
can be applied
but
to
he
English.
just looks
As with any life skill, I believe
great
that
here,
you've got to make
you
the
know?
process easy for yourself.
like, nice haircut, the gel, taking it for the Hispanics. Hey, yo, ojo, mi amigo. And, like, got some biceps on here. Maybe some beer and biceps. I
And
see.
your big brother got you covered.
I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, big bro. So, I could be your big bro.
So if you ask most people what the first step is when it comes to improving a spoken language, they'll say, "Arey news dekhne lag, arey classes join kar le, arey Shashi Tharoor dekh bench." Nope, I don't believe that that's true. I believe that if you want to learn a new language, you've got to enjoy the process. And keeping enjoyment in mind, I've got you 3 easy solutions.
If you can, find a friend online. Like, I have Omni, I have Bobby. I got a couple different guys who, if I sat down and wanted to have a conversation with them, they would be cool enough and patient enough to kind of help me learn some Hindu, maybe Bengali. But that definitely would be a big help. If you guys have friends who speak English with each other and try to make each other laugh. Humor is the fastest way to, one, know a language and speak it confidently.
Okay, so these 3 solutions are basically 3 options in order
Jay, I think you're dad.
to improve on your English. If you really want to improve it, you've got to make it a habit to practice these 3 options. You've got to practice it for a minimum of 15 minutes every day and for a maximum of however long you want. I'd suggest 1 hour a day is good to start with. Option number 1, easy video content. We're talking cartoons primarily, where the language used is super simple. It's meant for
Actually, this is a huge tip. When I was relearning Spanish, and because my abuela and my abuelo, they were the only one who spoke Spanish. And as I've gotten older, no one in my family speaks Spanish anymore. So then when I had a Spanish job and everyone was speaking Spanish, I was like, shit, I've lost half the words that I already knew, which wasn't a lot. So I would watch anime and I put the caption in Spanish, right? So I heard it in English but read it in Spanish, and that helped so much for me.
for children to understand. Easiest way
Or the other way around. Play it in English and then read it in whatever language you want to learn.
to improve your English. And if you're
What's
one of
up,
those
guys?
bros who thinks that you're too old
I
to
ain't
watch
calling you
cartoons,
daddy.
that's okay. Your other options are
dad.
to watch a lot of English
Dad.
video content. Maybe watch other BeerBiceps videos, maybe watch other YouTube channels, watch
But Jay, you're right. You take somebody from like Kentucky, from the mountains of Kentucky, and have them sit across from somebody from like the Silicon Valley in LA, where the Valley girls talk like this. Oh my God, that conversation would go nowhere.
Netflix. Option number 3 is my personal favorite. Akash Chopra helped me to improve my Hindi by his Hindi cricket commentary.
चुप कर आकाश चोपड़ा.
I'd suggest you go and watch English cricket commentary, especially Indians who are commentating in English. Think Rahul Dravid, Saurav Ganguly, Harsha Bhogle is fantastic. Go watch a lot of commentary.
Yeah, sports. I would even say comedy. Go watch some comedians who will make you laugh. And once more, if you can learn a language and you can learn some of their jokes, being able to make people laugh in another language, one, is going to give you the ultimate amount of confidence, and is going to break all their walls of, like, in the back of their head that they might be pushing on you to say, like, is this person really is he insulting, or are they trying to, like, actually learn the language? You know what I mean? Humor is the best thing. Humor is the best way to get around in life.
Basically, choose a piece of video content that you really enjoy watching, and that'll do the trick for you. That'll help you improve on your English or your Hindi.
Great fact. That's actually probably my biggest tip and the only tip. But for me, sports, anime, or humor, listen to it in English and have the captions of whatever language you're fluent in.
Also keep in mind that that's just the first solution, watching a lot of video content. If you're someone
Still,
who
the
doesn't
accent
enjoy
is
video
bad?
content,
This is why if you still think your accent, quote unquote, is bad, this is where I think watching a comedy, like somebody like a Shane Gillis, who's another good one, a Tony Hinchcliffe or a Tim Dillon, when you try to recite the joke, try to recite it the way that they did. Like, I'm not Donald Trump, right? But sometimes you gotta pull out a Trump impression. I don't have the greatest, but I practice it a lot. And maybe a little later in the afternoon, this would be a lot better. But right now, it's not the best.
that's
you just
okay.
practice.
If you enjoy listening to the radio or
Forgot about
podcasts,
me?
do
I didn't
that.
forget about you
And
guys.
the third
What the hell are you
solution
talking about?
is reading a little bit of simple English. I'd suggest that you go and pick up an ICSE textbook, a 10th standard ICSE textbook. It's got a lot of short stories. Some people pick up a language better by reading it. So you can also go for that. You've got to figure what works for you the best, what you enjoy the most,
I could barely read in English. You throw a book in Spanish, I'm screwed.
and do that thing every single day. Minimum
And then you think you throw a book at me in Hindi, I think you're throwing like a fucking witchcraft at me, some type of spell.
of 15 minutes,
Aye.
maximum of forever. Okay, so step number 1 is the fun part. Just 15 minutes of whatever you enjoy.
Yeah.
Step number 2, once you get into a habit of practicing step number 1, is observing the English language from the outside. You don't have to improve your vocabulary. You don't have to learn a lot of big words. You don't have to learn new words. But what you have to focus on is sentence construction. By watching video content, you'll see that some
At first, I was gonna be like, "This is bullshit," but then I remembered I worked at Telemundo. I worked at Telemundo, and everyone spoke Spanish there. And me being able to sit back and kind of listen to how they talk to each other, like "listo, listo," claro, claro, like just like quick little quips of being able to communicate back and forth. I learned so
ways
much.
in which they construct their sentences
What is my name
are
on YouTube?
different from
Bro,
the way
it's-
you think. So every time you
9:22 in the morning, I have a cup of coffee. Don't quiz me yet.
spot a difference in the content that you're watching or the content that you're listening to or the content that you're reading, you've got to make a mental note of it. You've got to realize that this isn't the way you speak English, and that's why your English might have a small mistake. Pick up on that mistake, keep it in your mind, practice it, say it 10 times to yourself, just observe English from the outside. Once you figured out sentence construction, then you can think of vocabulary, then you can think of learning new words. But first,
Omni, we had a full-blown conversation like a few days ago. I know who it is.
understand how English is spoken. And you're only gonna have that ability to understand spoken English when you practice watching it, when you practice absorbing it into your own life. Okay, step number 3 is not just as simple as saying, practice kar lo, it'll improve your English. Step number 3 is about putting your ego on the side. A lot of Indians, for some reason, associate English with intelligence. If you can speak English, that means you're intelligent.
Hey, Jay, you hear that? We're intelligent, bro. We can speak English. Now, only if they really do, once you start speaking to most people who can speak English, they're not that intelligent. Sure, there's a lot, but there's also a lot of us who kind of, I wouldn't use intelligent to describe, most people who can speak English.
So a lot of Indians actually judge other people's English very easily. But keep in mind, every time someone makes fun
Bro is telling you how to learn English in English. See?
of you, they're not making fun of you, they're making fun of themselves. They're making fun of an insecure.
See, Omni, that's a good joke right there. Now you said it in English. Look at you. practicing. You're putting the time in.
Security within themselves. If they make fun of your English, that means they're conscious about their own English.
See, I try to speak English even though it's my only language. Bro, I feel that. Sometimes I try to speak and I'm like, bro, I don't even know what I'm saying. Let me use some Spanglish here, please.
It's a way of boosting their own ego. That's why step number 3 for me is not about practice. It's about putting your ego on the side. You got to get rid of your ghamand, your arrogance. Embrace mistakes. If you're speaking English and you make mistakes while speaking English, that's perfectly all right. If people point out your mistakes, you'll remember them for the rest of your life and your English improves in the process.
This is, I'm reflecting on this for me trying to learn Spanish. Practico hablar mi español. When I had my Spanish job, right? And there was so many times where I would just want to say something in Spanish, but I'm like, I'm not gonna make a fool of myself in front of some chick, right? And no, this is the great video, great insight for like when I was going to learn Spanish and I was nervous. Stuff like this actually helped. That's what I'm getting at. So if you speak Hindi, if you speak Bengali, whatever language you speak, and then you're trying to learn English, this is actually a good video. If you can understand it.
You shouldn't give a shit about what people think. You should give a shit about becoming the best version of yourself in every aspect of life. Okay, step number 4 is something that I learned from the world of...
Holy shit. Everybody needs to hear that again.
If people point out your mistakes, you'll remember them for the rest of your life and your English improves in the process. You shouldn't give a shit about what people think. You should give a shit about becoming the best version of yourself in every aspect of life.
Fucking right. Write that down in your phone today and look at it. Look at it at lunch and look at it at dinner. Don't give a shit what other people think. The only thing you should give a shit about is improving yourself in every aspect of life. All right, BeerBiceps, you just became my new best friend.
Okay, step number 4 is something that I learned from the world of YouTube. If you want to improve any kind of spoken language, if you want to get better at public speaking, if you want to improve your communication skills, first you've got to chase clarity of thought. A lot of people are concerned about speaking English because they think of log kya kahenge, what do people think, or the whole translation process from Hindi to English, or just they keep thinking of words. So clarity of thought is actually what you need to focus on to remove those 3 other bad factors. What you have to do is meditation. I know it sounds crazy that I'm bringing meditation even into this topic.
I love this guy. I am on the same exact wavelength. If you looked at a walkie-talkie and you saw my walkie-talkie and you saw his walkie-talkie, it's on the same wavelength. I fuck with him. If we're online, we're playing Call of Duty, we got a clan tag, we both have T2G. I fuck with this guy.
But trust me, there's nothing that will clear your mind, make your thought process grounded, make your thought process clear like meditation will. If you want to know more, please watch our meditation playlist on BeerBiceps. Trust me, it'll help you with absolutely every single life skill out there.
Yeah, I fuck with this guy.
Okay, 5th and final point, very simple. Stop giving English that much importance. It's a huge flaw in Indian society that English is associated with intelligence. And it's a flaw because of the British.
Just because being bilingual is a sign of intelligence. And I think that's true to be here. And there's some people who are trilingual and you look at them like they're fucking freaks. You're like, English, Spanish, and German? Like, I went to school with a girl that could speak fluently in like 3 or 4 different languages. And I just look at her like, how'd you so smart? Where's you from?
British rule. 200 years of British rule kind of put it into our heads that English is associated with intelligence, but that's a very wrong mentality to have. Nowhere else in the world will you find this mentality. In Germany, people speak German. In Japan, people speak Japanese. In India, we should be speaking Marathi and Hindi and Tamil and Telugu and Sanskrit. That's our actual language. So I do believe that.
Wait, so you're telling me this whole time when I've been saying Bengali, that's just a place, that's not like a language too?
That India is moving to a point in history where Hindi is okay, even while speaking English.
How am I so smart? I don't know, Omni. How are you so smart?
You can put in a little bit of Hindi and it's accepted. It's mostly our parents' generation that thinks, "Arey, English bolna nahi aata, aisa kaise ho sakta hai?" That's not the correct mentality to have. It's a foreign language. It's not from our country. Firstly, I believe you should be proud of your own culture, your own language. And if you aren't able to speak English well, it's really not that big a deal. If you get stuck somewhere while talking English, complete your sentences in Hindi. Fortunately for us, we live in an age where that is accepted. Be proud of yourself, be proud of your nation, be proud of the language that your parents and your forefathers spoke. If you
That's yeah, that's super fair. And me being Hispanic, and I can't speak Spanish fluently, I definitely look at myself not down, but I'm just like, damn, I wish I could speak fluent Spanish, right? And I'm not putting into practice what I'm saying in this video. I did when I was working at the job, and I definitely learned Spanish again. When it gave me confidence. Um, but at the end of the day, I think communication, especially in 2024, we have phones now that if we really needed to have a conversation, I could speak into my phone, translate it, and it'd be 90, 80% accurate, and us be able to go back and forth almost in real time.